get ready because today on the show, we've got Phil Strader with Sig Sauer. Things tend to get off the rails pretty quickly when Phil's in town. So we'll talk about RVs, we'll talk about guns, and we'll see where this goes. This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Silencer Central, Walther, HI-VIZ, Armscor, Vortex, Colt, and RangeReadyStudios.com. All right, welcome in to another edition of Gun Talk Nation. Is it an edition?
Edition.
Not
edition.
Episode? We're adding to the lineup. It's an
addition to the addition.
It's an addition. See, right on the wrong track. Here we are.
Starting it off exactly the way we thought we would. Exactly.
I'm sorry. First off, everybody, I'm going to apologize early on. Phil Strader's here. Phil works with Sig Sauer.
I do.
And he's here doing a little filming. You're back, dude.
I am. I'm so excited. In the new building, it's exciting. The range is right behind us, and I can't wait to get out there and shoot on it.
Ooh.
Hope maybe hit a couple targets. It's been a long time since I shot, so this will be.
It's been a while since you shot.
It's been a while since I've shot a gun, so
people go, but you work in the gun industry, Phil.
Well, I will tell you this: that if you all are fans of guns, you want to shoot a lot, there are two things you shouldn't do: work at a gun range and own a gun range, and then you'll never shoot again.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we built this place. We have a shooting range just right out back. I have a window in my office that looks at the shooting range. And I was telling you earlier, I feel like the guy who built a fancy pool and never goes swimming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking out there like, wow, look at that shooting range. That's pretty. I bet people would have fun out there.
I'm going out there next week. I'm going to take a class.
One day I'm going to go shoot guns out there.
Yeah.
But first I have 100 emails I need to read.
Yeah, I got those meetings I have to deal with and the other thing and the stuff.
There's a Zoom call. In 5 minutes. Great.
This is a fact. This is a fact that from 1998 to 2000,
mm-hmm.
I practiced all the time. I mean, mostly dry fire, but I was shooting as much as I absolutely could. As far as
was this ammo provided by the government?
I was loading it at the time.
Okay,
I was shooting as much as I could get my hands on, and it didn't matter what caliber it was, what it was, whatever I could get. And the day I got a job as a firearms instructor at a firearms range, I shot less. And then 2 years later, I bought an indoor shooting range and gun store, and I shot even less. So from the span of 2002 to 2005, I was around guns all the time.
Yeah.
All but 6 to 8 hours a day. I was either had a gun in my hand or I was giving guns to other people at a store trying to sell them, but I wasn't shooting. I was just either teaching people how to shoot, watching people shoot, or building ranges and improving ranges and sweeping ranges. I did a lot of sweeping. I got really good at sweeping when I owned a shooting range.
You saw a lot of brass.
Yeah, I saw a lot of shooting, but maybe I was learning through osmosis. If I watch you shoot enough, I'll eventually be good at it.
You'll really groove the techniques you saw on the public shooting range.
Yeah, and so that didn't go well. And then from 2005 to 2007, I did shoot a lot, actually. I shot a little bit more than I used to. And then what did I do in 2007? I left my job as a firearms instructor with Capitol Police and went to be an instructor in Oklahoma at U.S. Shooting Academy, where I was, again, working at a shooting range all the time. And, it just got great. And then I went to work for Remington and now at SIG. I got to get out of the gun industry. I need to sell used cars. That's what I need to do. I need to become a car salesman so I can actually go shoot some.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to do.
Be something where you can get off early in the afternoon and just go shoot guns.
If you own a dealership anywhere in the country, warm, and you need someone to sell cars.
No, wait. Let's get real here. RVs.
Oh,
that's your jam.
Gosh. Now we're talking. Now, you know what?
What do I have to do to put you into this 39-foot
Welcome to
motor
the
coach?
RV Talk channel. Let's just rename it.
Here we go. I'm sorry.
Do we have to talk about guns? Can't we talk about RVs?
How many hours is on this generator, Phil?
Well, it just depends. The 10,000 kilowatt, those Donan diesels, they can go for a long time.
Are those highway miles on that generator?
Oh, yeah. Well, if you travel a lot to parks, you're going to have a lot of miles in your RV, but you won't have a lot of miles in your generator.
This
high
is
miles
not kidding,
generators, high hours, sorry, not miles, high hour generators are typically people who do some boondocking and off grids kind of stuff. So now you know.
Pro tip.
Tip. Pro RV tip from
Go to philsrvblog.com.
Phil's
for
RV
more.
Emporium.
He's not just a champion shooter and gun designer.
Yeah, RV aficionado.
Yeah.
Mainly old RVs, like 1999 to 2006. That's my jam in there.
So you don't go all the way back to like the tactical RV from Stripes,
Well, yes, that would be. Those are amazing.
Winnebago.
That was a GMC. I think that was
Was
a
it?
GMC. Those are awesome. You see those every now and then at campgrounds. You'll see some of these retro mini Winnies and the GMC, tag axle with a 454, and they're really cool. But holy moly, that looks like a lot of maintenance, and and they're not very practical. They're not big on the inside.
My buddy and 5 of his friends just bought a 1979 or 78 that's all original stuff. It still looks the part and it still runs.
So it's retro.
And they were like, dude, we're going to take this to music festivals because that's their thing. And so they bought it, and that day they were driving it like an hour or two away to a music festival, and the guy driving it is like, dude, this is going to break down. It's making a weird noise. I'm freaking out. And my buddy's like, look, dude, if it breaks down, we're going to pull over and we're going to call Uber. I don't care. Like, we each have like $1,000 into this thing. It doesn't matter.
You know what you don't appreciate when you go to look at old RVs, anything in the 70s, 80s, and even the 90s, what you don't really get a true appreciation for are the smells that you get to experience when you walk into these things, because wow, it's something. I actually looked. I was in Martinsburg, West Virginia, and I just happened to be on RV Trader because it's what
That's
I
what
do.
you do.
It's what I do.
This isn't a joke. Like, he really is an
I am
RV
obsessed
nerd.
with RVs and cars. I was just bidding when Chris showed up. I was bidding on a car in your conference room. I was bidding on an old Lexus LX 470.
Sweet.
I just can't help myself. I have a problem and I need help.
But are you one of those guys that argues like, but don't worry, I usually make money on these?
I usually make money on them. I mean, well, I
Right.
usually would have made money had
as far
I
as my
sold
wife
them.
knows.
Had I sold them when I should have. But anyway, so I find this Prevost. Prevos were $1 million RVs even back then. And I found one, and it passed the 30-foot view test, and all the pictures happened to be taken right at 30 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I pulled up to this place, some Russian dude walked out, and I knew I was in trouble at that second. No offense to any Russians out there, but if you're a Russian and you're dealing in old used Prevos that smell like dead cats,
in West Virginia,
you're suspect in West Virginia for sure. So anyway, I walked into the thing and it smelled like a meth lab had been going on in there. It was really bad, but it was
Walther from.
Yes, yeah, it was like a really luxurious Walther kind of RV. But
Oh gosh.
yeah, the smells are awesome. But anyway, I digress. Let's talk gun talk.
Yeah, you work at Sig, right?
I do work at Sig.
All right,
Sorry,
we checked that
Sig.
box. All right,
Yeah.
moving on back to RVs. No. So how many RVs on the road do you think have guns in them?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because, I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's one of the little appeals. People like to be able to bring all their stuff with them. They're not having to fly on airplanes.
True.
They travel around the country.
You know what? Listen,
You think it's above the national average of gun ownership?
I believe it is, yes.
Yeah.
Typically, your RV crowd is not a very diverse group of people. They're usually pretty conservative.
Older,
conservative, white males. It's a very not a very diverse group of people. And my bus has Sig all over the side of it, right?
So there's
as
that.
you've seen it,
Yes.
you have seen it. I'm actually right down the road. I was staying in this Mountain View. Is it Mountain View? Lake Union.
Reunion Lake. Yeah,
Reunion Lake RV.
It's a nice place.
Incredible RV park in the middle of Robert,
I know
Louisiana.
we haven't sold that part of it yet, but
Wow.
if you
It
want
is
to come
awesome.
train here,
If you want to come train here,
and you're an RV guy.
you will be staying at one of the world-class RV resorts.
mean, it has
next to one of the world-class ranges now.
It has swimming pools. It has a swim-up bar. It has a lazy
Yes,
river.
It's incredible. This place is unbelievable.
telling you.
And so we're staying there, and every time you pull up in the Sig bus, which is what this thing has been deemed, people want to come up and talk to you.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's universal. I mean, every single person at the park will come up and start talking. We were in Acadia National Park.
Oh, yeah, in Maine. Yeah.
And we were at the dump station, just at the dump station, because we were staying in, we happened to stay at this, a site that didn't have, a tank or a dump tank. So we're getting ready to leave, we're dumping, and a car pulls up behind us, and he just starts coming up and starts talking to me. He says, "Hey, aren't you that guy on YouTube, Phil Strader, right?" And he knew who I was because he was a gun guy. So his kids are like, my kids they watch all your videos and this, and they want him to come take pictures because it's universal all the time. And it doesn't even have to be at an RV park. It can be anywhere. You just drive and stop and at a truck stop, which is where I get gas.
And then they all want to show you their guns.
Well, yeah, they want to talk to you about,
I'm carrying it right now. Let me show you. Please don't.
Let me show you. Like, it's like the NRA show all over again.
God.
Here you go. Let me show you.
Take it easy.
Everyone's super nice. I actually do need to talk to our marketing department because it would probably be a great idea to have, if we have catalogs left or stickers or something, to keep them in the bus, because people are always asking if they have swag. And I was like, well, yeah, I have a ton of it at work, but I don't. Yeah, so I got to probably start putting that in the bus. But there, yeah, I always have a gun on me all the time. Anyway, but I have, being a retired police officer, I have a little bit more leeway as far as carrying in a car and carrying concealed and that kind of thing. But I would be willing to bet that RV users, RV drivers, people that travel, especially people that spend a lot of time on the road, I would be willing to bet that they are well protected.
It's a high percentage, I bet.
Yes, I would think so, for sure.
Yeah. Even if we're not driving an RV, if I'm driving on a trip, I'm not having to fly, you just bring lots of stuff with you. And you're like, well, I guess I'll bring a long gun because I can.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, during all the craziness that was going on during COVID and all the unrest that was happening, I usually kept a number of them in the car, strategically.
Yeah.
Just to be safe, just to make sure nothing bad went down. And, I have a tendency to over prepare. Let's face it.
You get caught in some sort of riot.
You never know when zombies are going to, when it's going to turn into a zombie apocalypse. It just happened to be, it could be while we're on the road, so just like to be prepared, man. I'm all about prepping.
I'm a prepper.
I'm a prepper.
I like to prep with my prepping.
My 6 mile per gallon motorhome.
All right. After the break, we're actually going to talk about Sig Sauer.
Oh yeah.
You may have heard that Marlin Firearms is back, and they've just reintroduced the Marlin Model 336 Classic, an icon of the deer woods. The Model 336 Classic is adorned with traditional features like walnut stock and forend, standard size finger lever, and gold-colored trigger, and of course, in 30-30. It's classic, it's beautiful, and it's kind of a new improved Marlin. You can learn more over at marlinfirearms.com. It's a funny thing about aftermarket upgrades. If you start doing them, you go, wow, this really does make my life better. One of the companies that does a really nice job of that are HI-VIZ sights, HI-VIZ shooting systems. And all you have to do is go to HI-VIZsights.com to learn more. One of the products they have is the Lightwave H3. It's tritium light pipe pistol sights. So they like to say you get 24 hours night and day illumination. So in the daylight, it glows brightly. And at night, you also have that tritium that kicks in for an ultra bright aiming experience. You can learn more over at their website, HI-VIZsights.com. Walther, have you heard about the WMP, the Walther Magnum pistol? It's a full-size pistol, but it's in .22 Magnum, semi-automatic. And this could be target practice plinker, could be a carry around the woods gun, could be a lot of things, but it's just a very cool gun. And what do you need to know about it? 4.5-inch barrel, fiber optic front sight, 15 rounds in the magazine. Yes, it's semi-auto. And yes, it's a Walther with a 4.5-pound trigger pull. So it's going to be a fun gun to have out there on the range. And I know that a lot of you guys are just 22 mag nerds. So go check it out at waltherarms.com. Some of you may have heard we have a new training facility. It's a chance to get out there and do some things that you can't do at your local range, like moving and shooting, like rapid fire, like drawing from your holster, like running an AR from a sling, getting down, getting up, learning a lot of things, practicing a lot of things, shooting a lot of fun targets, using barricades, and we'll train you to do it the right way. So as one student says, you'll go home with a lot of good things to practice. You can learn more over at rangereadystudios.com. Okay, so Phil, you are the man. You either get the credit or the blame when it comes to guns at Sig Sauer lately.
Well, yeah, I guess to a degree, the buck stops with me now.
I mean,
yeah,
I shouldn't do that to you. There are lots of good people that work at Sig and do a bunch of good stuff.
Yes.
But
well, I do just a small part of it. And even when I was like the product manager working on specific projects like the 365 and the 320 and the 322 and all these newer projects we were doing, there's so many people involved. And I've said this 100 times, but when you're the front man, when you're the guy that lives the product and mainly talks about it on the tubes,
right.
You do take a lot of heat, and it's not bad. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of questions they want to ask and a lot of very detailed questions they want to ask, but you'd be surprised how many times someone will just call Sig, just the general number of Sig Sauer, and ask for me, and they will just push them right through to my work phone, and I get these crazy messages. So it does happen. But now that I'm kind of a director in that field of product management, now there's other people that are getting a bit more hands-on with each product. We've got a team of four guys on firearms. We have an ammo product manager, an air product manager, and they basically report to me now. But I still get obviously input on a lot of the products. We still work as a team, and of course it's product management, so we have to work very closely with everyone involved, including engineering and planning and sales and marketing. So we're still trying to make sure that the product and the message are kind of symbiotic.
So, I mean, Sig, I think the only thing I can think of that you guys aren't doing, and I guess I'll say yet, I won't make you say yet, I don't know anything. So don't get mad at me.
Oh boy.
But you don't do any shotgun stuff.
No.
Right? So, but what, you have...
Or revolver stuff.
Or revolver stuff. Okay. You've got big handguns. You got small handguns, all semi-auto stuff. You've got bolt guns, bolt rifles. You've got various sizes of semi-automatic type rifles.
Sporting rifles.
Modern
sporting rifles.
Air guns. What's the most difficult type of gun to come out with? If they said, hey, we want to come out with a new whatever, and you're like, oh man, this is going to be a journey.
Well, they're all, if it's a ground up design, it's always hard. It totally, honestly, it depends on, it always seems to depend a lot on the magazine. If it's
You're not the first person to say that.
Yeah, if it's a magazine that we have to design from the ground up.
So that's the part where you're like, oh crap.
Yeah, it's a 2-year project. It's just at bare minimum 2 years.
Can we please just use it based on a P320 mag?
Right, yes.
or whatever.
Right now, pistol wise, we have 2 platforms that use very popular magazines, very reliable magazines. So I'm very confident to say that if we were to make a pistol in the 9mm variety, it would very likely be using the magazines that we currently have.
Existing mags.
Right.
Yeah. Why come up with a new mag design?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Rifle wise, it's hard to break away from the standard magazine as well. So it's honestly not.
And if you brought out a rifle that you had some new proprietary magazine, people would be mad.
Yes.
And, well, why isn't it using...
I have 47 AR mags. I can't use these now? Yeah,
yes. They would be mad about this.
You know how many Magpul mags I have in my shelf? So we have to keep it... That's an easy one to keep more consistent with, what's out there. But honestly, look, anything that involves design work, R&D, testing and that kind of thing. I usually like to, and most gun companies will say this, it's a 2-year window. It's a comfortable 2-year window to go from concept, writing it on a napkin, to a production first article.
Okay.
But honestly, it depends. Sometimes we get lucky. We had a team working on the 322 that came around really quickly, and that had a magazine development in it. That project moved pretty fast. The 365 project moved pretty quick. I think, let's see, I started there in 2016. They handed me the project and said, here's what we are thinking about doing. So we started moving on it. And I think SHOT Show of 2018 is when we launched it. So that moved pretty quick.
Yeah.
But right now the industry is not, I don't want to say the industry is not hungry for anything right now, but we're in a position to where we can rely pretty heavily on the orders we're taking. Right now, our guns are being booked at a level to where we're fighting to keep up, specifically on the higher end big stuff. The stuff that's hard to make. The new Spear is out, which is obviously the rifle based on the XM7. MCXLTs, they're very, very popular. Those guns are at the 226 X5s. Those guns they're heavy. They're made of metal. It takes a lot of man hours to put them together. So it's obviously harder to keep up with that demand.
And that's interesting because those aren't inexpensive guns.
No, but they're recession-proof guns. As my CEO likes to say, Mr. Cohen always says, there's recession-proof guns that people walk into a store and ask for. And the MCX is just one of those guns. It always has been. We've always had a huge demand for that rifle. It's just that good. And now we have the LT, which is even lighter and more improved. And of course, the Spear is gaining traction now that we're finally starting to, to build them a little faster. Obviously, everything we do is, especially on a relatively new platform or complicated platform like that, we are learning every day when we're out there on the floor as to how we can make it faster, how we can be more efficient on the floor. And every day we're making more and more guns. So that's a positive thing. Obviously, the demand is crazy, so we're just trying to keep up. And the push from my leadership or our leadership to say we need this new product, we need it right now. It's less intense when we can barely keep up with the demand.
And the focus turns a little bit maybe less to like new product versus like how do we make this stuff that we're already making faster, more efficiently, better,
right?
Or
fracking. Technically, basically taking a platform you already make and doing something a little different with it that you don't have to reinvent the wheel or go through design validation.
Yeah.
But if I take a pistol and put a different finish that no one's seen before on it, or put an accessory or two on it that no one's seen or used before, that's a light lift. So I'm taking a product that I already make that I might be able to get more money for, charge more. Spectre Comp, perfect example. That was granted, that was a little bit of a design effort to master that slide integrated expansion chamber, but it worked out because it was still just a 365, but we made a lot of them and people were hungry for it. They still are with the X Macro.
How much do you guys have input from the customer where they're saying, oh, I wish you guys would make this or make that? I mean, how often does that come up where you actually go, oh, that's a pretty good idea?
I
mean, I'm sure people reach out about
there's
ideas, and I'm sure, no offense, but I'm sure like 9 out of 10, you go, yeah, either maybe it's, well, let's be honest, maybe it's just a dumb idea, or maybe it's like, well, the realities of business, we won't be able to sell very many of them. Or
9 out of 10 is pretty judicious. It's actually, you know what? Look, there's always going to be input from the field, from our customer base. And sometimes it's as silly as, can you just squeeze one more round in the magazine? And sometimes it's people that have patents, they've written on a piece of paper that they've applied for patents for, or they'll have an idea. They call and they want to talk about an idea they have. And that's the first question I ask is, do you have patent protection? Because I don't need you to tell me what this idea is. And all of a sudden we think it's great. We use it. And you claim we infringed on your idea. You need to get it in writing before you sell it to us. We are not that company. We're not the company that's trying to underhandedly take things away from
Sure.
people. We want to give people credit, and and that's kind of our mentality. So I do get a lot of those phone calls. We get a lot of input, but we also get input from our engineers, our sales guys, our field reps, because they're end users. They
that's true.
shoot,
And they're in the stores. They're talking to customers. They're talking to the dealers.
Right.
They're hearing what people are liking or not liking, or whatever.
Absolutely. We know what the interest in a manual safety version of a gun would be. Let's say, if we get a lot of people saying, "Well, you should make this in a manual safety," we don't typically get a lot of those requests, but we could, and we would probably field those requests from our customers, from our reps on the ground, and our end users. I mean, I was just at a competitive shooting event at the SIG Experience Center, and almost half of the entire squad I was on were all engineers or
Really?
project managers.
That's
or
awesome.
someone that works, people that work for us. So these guys are getting involved in the shooting sports, and they're getting a chance to see what works for them, what doesn't, things they would like to see on a gun from an end user standpoint, and they're actually getting their hands dirty by shooting. I mean, that's kind of a horrible way of saying it, but by shooting other guns. They get a chance to experience a single action, the high cap magazine pistol, or something that we don't typically make. They can experience it and say,
That's
we should probably
important
do something like that.
because
Yeah.
I mean, I hadn't thought of it much, but Chris Serino, he's done stuff with us over the years. He's been in a few different companies in the industry, and he came to us. He'd worked at a particular gun company, and when he came into the office, he was like, "Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? Oh, have you seen this?" And we're like, "Yeah, it's all here." And I hadn't really thought about when you work for a company, a lot of times you're kind of in this bubble where you're like, "Well, I know everything we make,
Right.
but I'm not seeing the new whatever from Mossberg or Glock or Springfield or Sig or it's like, no, I just see our stuff."
Yeah.
And so it's good to go, no, we need to see it all, shoot it all.
All four of the guys that work for me who are on the firearms product management side, they all shoot. They're all shooters, and we actually had a workshop out on the range last year where I brought out all of my toys, everything I had, different guns, different makes, models. One of our PMs is actually an instructor. He brought some of his guns out, so we got a chance to shoot other pistols and other firearms, other rifles, and I think that's invaluable. If you're going to be in the industry, if you're either, like you said, you're either living in a bubble or you're drinking your own Kool-Aid, then your company's never going to be successful.
Yeah.
I don't want to mention any names, but there are companies out there that have had the same design for 40 years, and they just they're not willing to change. And there's a story for that. Yeah, if you got a winning recipe and it's doing great, that's awesome. But I feel like our company is successful because we're not afraid to break out of the norm and just instead of just making classic 226s and 220s.
Right.
This is what's basically all we made for a long time. We've actually branched out. Now we're making machine guns for the Army and suppressors. I mean, we have a hell of a line of suppressors that a lot of people don't know about, but we own every suppressor contract that the military has just about. So
wow.
A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know. Did you know that now?
Did you know that?
Did you know that? Because now you do.
All right. So talking about military contracts, after this break, I want to talk more about the Spear because I think a lot of people still don't know a whole lot about it and how it got here. New from Colt, it's the CBX Precision Bolt Action Rifle. Wait, a bolt action from Colt? Yes. Available in 308, 24-inch barrel, and they have a custom stock they did working with MDT, but they kind of said, this is what we want it to be. It's a chassis system, fully adjustable, cheek riser, fully adjustable for length of pull, and just a nice, accurate, fun package. You have the gray finish on it, which looks great. It comes with AICS mags. It's optics ready. I shot it out at Gunsight a few months back, and it ran great. Really liked the gun. So go check it out at Colt.com. Silencer Central, you know them for making it easy to buy a silencer. They also design and manufacture their own silencers, which are called the Banish line. One of the ones that came out recently is the Banish 46. This is the big dog. This is the bad daddy. It's designed for a wide assortment of rifle calibers, including 338 Lapua, up to 4570. You go, wait, what? Yeah, your 45 ACP cannot take the pressure of a 4570, but the Banish 46 can. And why would you want this? Yes, big time sound reduction because it's big. It has a lot of volume to it. 34.5 dB sound reduction, but also recoil reduction. And that's why I am going to put this on my 4570, because now it's going to make it a pleasure to shoot those bigger, heavier recoiling guns. Go check them out over at silencercentral.com. Now, here's a gun I haven't heard much about from Armscor Rock Island Armory. It's the LI 380. It's a 380 ACP smallish pistol, all metal, single stack, 8-round, double action, single action pistol. And they're calling it the Lightning 380 ACP. It's more than just a flash. It is a dependable carry pistol. And I like to have options in my carry lineup, and this could be a good one for you. A smaller 380, comes from the Baby Rock series, and it's actually a very affordable gun too. MSRP is $299 on this gun. You can learn more over at armscor.com. You may have heard, but LPVOs, low power variable optic scopes, are all the rage lately because of their versatility, whether that's hunting, whether it's competition shooting, or defensive purposes. Law enforcement like them a lot. And Vortex has a wide variety. They're kind of one of the leaders as far as options when it comes to these low power variable optics. They have 1 to 6 power, 1 to 8 power, 1 to 4 power. They even have a 1 to 10 power. Another thing they do a nice job of is giving you options from a Crossfire, which is an MSRP of under $300, all the way up to a Razor HD Gen 3 1 to 10 that's going to be MSRP of like $3,600. So you have options if you want to get real fancy, or if you want to just get something to plink around with, or just for your budget, you have options there. You can learn more at vortexoptics.com. And we're back.
And here we are.
All right. So
we're just talking about sheets, washing sheets.
The Spear.
You guys would not believe what goes on during these commercial
behind
breaks.
the scenes.
It is terrifying.
It's PG-13, maybe NC-17.
That's a huge jump.
Is that worse than rated R?
That's a huge
How is
jump.
that?
That's like
you
going,
think like
well,
17. You're like, so you have to be 17 years old. But isn't it rated R 18 years old?
I think it was.
All right, I don't know.
Wow.
Chime in. I think NC-17 was worse than R, but why is it called NC-17? What does the NC stand for?
I don't know. That's a good question. I bet someone watching will know.
We're not going to bother looking it up, so you can.
Nude content?
I mean, could be.
Naughty content?
Naughty content.
Naughty content.
Yeah.
-17. 17 naughty scenes.
Naughty with an I. It's nautical.
All right.
All right. No.
Moving on.
All right. So the Spear rifle, you guys have, you've done really well with getting military contracts. The M17, which became the 320, or backwards?
Actually, the 320 was out, and we built a version of it for the military, the M17.
Yeah.
Which is basically a manual safety equipped 320.
Yeah. What they wanted. So the Spear, what's the background on this? And for people who were like, sounds like a cool name, what is it?
Well, the Spear is basically what started out as a next generation squad weapon contract. It was a solicitation from the Army to build to solicit for a rifle that was more capable in combat, more capable with the ammo, more capable with effective range. And of course, there were a number of submissions, and we ended up winning out with what is now known as the XM250 and the XM7. It was the XM5, and the military updated the name because I think gun company already had the M5. They wanted to avoid confusion. But basically, it was a rifle that would shoot a hybrid round, 6.8 by 51, I believe, is the cartridge. That would shoot a hybrid faster, flatter, with higher effective range down on
This
down
is
range
not
on target. So
just to clarify for people listening. It's not a replacement for like an M4. This is the.
well, we hope it will be.
I mean, maybe
if
the 6.8 by 51.
yeah, it's basically a 277 Spear or 277 Fury is what we're calling the commercial version of it.
Okay, right.
But it's very flat, very very fast round. It's actually hybrid case technology. It actually has a steel bottom half of the case, so it can accept higher pressure, so you won't have to worry about the web of the case blowing out. So it gives us some extra punch, more feet per second. So it was basically not just a rifle or firearm story; it was also an ammo story. And that contributed a lot to our success in winning that contract. And Spear was a commercial, basically a marketing name for our commercial version of the NGSW, the XM7, rifle. It's basically an MCX with a higher caliber and 308.
Okay.
Now, commercially, it's a 308.
That's a good way to
6.5 MCX.
It's an MCX, but in a bigger cartridge, bigger.
It's basically
caliber.
a larger MCX, but it does have a lot of the features. It has the same features that the military requested, which was a side charging handle, non-reciprocating side charging handle, and a few other things that they requested. We actually built that into the commercial version of the gun. And, for all intents and purposes, the commercial version and the version we've submitted to the military are extremely similar.
So maybe I'm thinking about it wrong, but how does that compare to like an AR-10? I mean, how is it similar? How is it different?
Well,
perhaps?
an AR-10 obviously is a gas impingement system, so it's going to it'll perform okay, but part of the NGSW system was also a suppressor requirement, right? So the gun
it's a system,
right?
Yeah.
So obviously, in our case, the Spear or the XM7 is a piston-powered gun like the MCX.
Adjustable,
so it's totally adjustable. Has a two settings, suppressed and unsuppressed, or I think normal and adverse could be what the military calls it. But yeah, it's purpose built to be shot suppressed. So that's a lot different than an AR-10.
Yeah.
Plus, it's going to hold up a little bit longer. It's going to not get nearly as dirty. So there are a lot of factors about a larger MCX Spear, or the Spear, as we're calling it, the Spear 308, Spear 6.5, and eventually the Spear 277 Fury, that make it a huge advantage. Now, obviously, we're competing in a very, very exclusive and very high-priced market.
Right.
So you're going to be hard pressed to find a lot of AR-10s in the $4,000 price point.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But the benefits you get on the Spear are 3-4 fold. So, and they're also kind of in that range of these high end 308 battle rifles, as what they're calling them, or
Well, that's a good point to be made of like, hey, the AR-15, the AR-10, still a very popular. It's a good design in a lot of ways, but I mean, if you're saying, well, people, specifically the military, are saying, no one's going to be using this without it being suppressed for the military, and even in consumer side, it may be true, especially if you're thinking about a $4,000 gun. Probably most people are putting the suppressor on it. Now you're saying, well, we're going to design the gun for that, as opposed to sticking it on a gun that was designed 50 years ago and it wasn't designed specifically to run that way.
Right. That's kind of the direction we wanted to go with that. Right. I mean, in fact, on the military side, there's no real reason now, especially with the XM7, there's no real reason for a soldier in the field to have an unsuppressed rifle. I mean, if we're getting better performance out of a smaller package with a suppressor than they were getting with their current rifle, do the math. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out.
Yeah.
You're gonna have less signature to your enemy, so you're gonna have a much quieter sound signature. You're gonna have basically no flash,
less recoil
with the SLX suppressor that we're putting on. In fact, the one we have on the gun back there, you're getting It's much safer from the shooter. You're getting a lot less gas blowback.
Yeah.
In fact, I think one of our tests, we showed that with the SLX suppressor, we were getting less noxious gas in the face of the shooter than we were with an unsuppressed regular rifle. So
What?
it's crazy. We have
crazy.
FLIR video, and we can show, it shows where the gases end up, and it's unreal, the technology on the suppressor. And it's just, a lot of people don't know about it, but we're working on getting a marketing message out there to show people that, hey, there's a reason our suppressors are dominating in the military market. It's because they're effective, they're quiet, they work, and they're safer. They're quiet and they're safe. You know? But the Spear, it's such a cool rifle. I mean, we obviously can't make enough of them. There were concerns when we realized what the price point was going to be. Because it's not a cheap rifle to make, but it doesn't seem to matter because people still are buying it, they still want it.
Well, and when you can't really make enough of them anyway, you go, well, that's kind of what the price needs to be, and let's just see what happens. And if people are like, yeah, we're fine with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always a funny thing when people talk about price of the guns and the gear and the stuff that we talk about on Gun Talk Media, because somebody will comment, well, that's too much for that gun. Or, wow, that's not as much as I thought. I'm going,
yeah.
It's so subjective of what's cheap or what's expensive or what you think, $500. And I'll admit this, I'm terrible at this because I don't know what stuff costs. like it's not that everybody sends us free stuff.
I have a rich guy that says the same stuff about the cars he buys.
No.
I don't know what
but
it is.
I mean, if someone sends us guns and we shoot them, and then we send them back, which usually we have to send them back. But, a lot of times we don't even talk about price. We're like, okay, we shoot it. This is why it's neat. This is, we do this and that with it. And we send it back. And then several years ago, it was like, oh, yeah. And then somebody goes, oh, but that's $2,300 for that gun. And you go, wait, what? It is? Oh, that is a lot of money. I mean, I don't know. It depends on the guy.
It depends on the guy. It depends on the buyer. It depends on the product. I mean, there are certain products out there that command more money, and you could theoretically do an apples to oranges or apples to apples comparison on one and or the other. And there are some people who will pick up a $5,000 custom 1911 or 2011 and not think it shoots as well as their 226 or their 320 or their X Macro. There are people out there that won't see the difference, but there's a lot out there who know the difference between a C8 Corvette and a LaFerrari. There are people out there who know the difference.
The thing is, if you're a good shooter or experienced shooter, if you're a good driver, you're going to experience it more. The differences you're going to notice in the steering and all these things. Than like I never shoot guns, and you pick up two different guns. You go, I don't know.
Right. That's not the market that we're playing in all of our firearms. Obviously, 365. Our 320 lineup, a lot of our 320s and 365s, 322s, very affordable, and that we still play in that market. But there's always going to be a firearm lineup or a firearm type that's not going to fit in that scale. And there are very discerning and very specific people, buyers, who will walk into a store and ask for a certain thing.
Right.
And the Spear is one of those guns. The MCX is family. All the MCXs are part of that. The new Rattler. We want the new Rattler. When the Rattler came out, everybody wanted the Rattler.
I do love that gun. It's so fun.
It's amazing. So everyone wanted that when it first came out. So it's there are certain firearms and certain products, not just firearms, but certain products that demand a certain price because of the reputation and because shooters, gun people, maybe not the person that's buying their first sporting rifle, but someone who's got a couple sporting rifles and has shot and knows the difference, they're willing to spend an extra few $100 or $1,000 or whatever the case may be.
There's no such thing as an inexpensive hobby, because if you get into it, it could be stamp collecting, it could be racing pigeons across the country.
It could be RVs.
It could be RVs. You're gonna spend money as much as you have, as much as you get into it, is how much you're gonna spend on it. All right, this is a good thing to close this out on. All right, what is your dream RV?
Whoa, that is
dream RV.
Wait, what does that mean?
If we went pimp your ride.
Does that mean like literally unlimited money and a service contract, or does that mean do I have a price point?
It's wide open. No, it's wide open. Dream RV.
Dream RV. I don't know. I'll just pick one of the new Liberty coaches. I don't know if I'd keep it.
You're not going to go like. I think you should go 1980s
no.
limo that has a hot tub built in.
No. I'm thinking. For me, I'm thinking resale, because I can get a Liberty coach, sell it for $2.9 million, and retire, and then buy a really crappy one like the one I have now. Now, if I had one to like keep, like a practical RV that I have to keep and I don't want to get rid of, 2004 Monaco Executive 45 footer. But I would do a 42 footer as well. 43, but 45 footer. Hell with it. Go with it. Go all the way out.
Why not?
Because it's
just go crazy.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
In fact, I almost bought one.
Ship it to Europe.
Years ago.
I want you to make a whole loop.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, there you go.
Know, I hate talking like this, because then I get depressed and I want to retire and drive around the country, but then I got my wife and dogs. And
why are you pointing out stuff I can't do? Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, I also like boats. You want to talk boats? I want to get on a boat.
Don't get me started
the world,
on that.
You know, come on.
Don't get me started.
I mean, come on.
I'm the motorized catamarans right now with the big wide beams. See, we have more hobbies than just guns.
Do you realize this is depressing, because I have very expensive taste, and I have well, look, I just don't make a lot of money. I don't make nearly as much money as I want to spend. But do you realize?
None of us do.
Here's a little trivia for you. Do you realize that if you bought $3,000 in Bitcoin, say, in I don't know, July of 2010,
and you also sold it before now,
sold it around, I don't know, July of 2021, that's a $1.8 billion profit.
Trick is, everybody
That's
can do
why
this,
there's no
right?
time travel. That's why time travel is not legal. Time travel is not legal because of that.
2 years ago.
Or is it not possible? It's not possible. I don't know if it's probably possible.
It's probably the government. They're just keeping us from doing it.
The government's doing it.
They're not even making DeLoreans anymore.
What a waste.
So, I mean, it can't be done.
Can't be done.
88. Look, the problem is 2 years ago, that dude who was a Bitcoin billionaire was like, dude, it's going to double. And now he has $3,000 worth of Bitcoin.
Well, Bitcoin's still $28,000 a share or a coin. So it's not doing that bad. It's still doing okay.
I don't know.
It used to be like 9 cents a coin.
Yeah, how's Sam Friedman doing with all that?
I don't know. I don't. You know what? It just came up on my feed somehow, and I started watching, got more depressed, and I figured I'd bring it up here.
Okay, well, it's good that we can talk this out.
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna go over there and film some other stuff and be poor.
You guys go buy more Sig Sauers so Phil can buy a 2004 Monaco.
Well, FYI for those watching at home, I don't get paid based on how much you guys pay.
He doesn't actually own Sig Sauer. He just works there.
Work. I'm just a humble servant. So.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to RV Talk. We will see you next time. To see all of Gun Talk's content, go to guntalk.com, guntalktv.com, or sign up for the Gun Talk newsletter.